Okay, good morning. We are here at Damanhur and we are in the parking lot right here. There's the Damanhur sign. And so I thought I would give you a little tour of this beautiful Damanhur community. This is the visitor center right over here. So this is where, so when you first come here, people usually stay upstairs, and then there's a cafe down here, and a little store, and some offices, and so we'll go up to the hill and see some of the things up here. Okay, so now we are in the open temple area at Damanhur, and this is a space that's open to anybody coming to enjoy. There's a statue here of Horus. Horus is kind of the the totem god here at Damanhur. There's lots of statues of Horus around here. And actually Damanhur started off as the Horus Center in Turin, and that's where they would meet the Falco and have teachings and talk about developing a community. So this here is the open temple, so we can come a little closer here. This is one of the very first things that was built here at Damanhur, and all these pillars are all local clay. Actually, the clay here at Damanhur in this region is very, very good for ceramics, and so these were all pieces that were they would be done in sections and then fired and then piled up. And these lines here, these lines are all done for like walking meditations. So groups will come here and they'll all walk on the lines. And something about Damanhur is that this is the intersection of four main synchronic lines. So that's why Falco and the early community chose to build their association here in the intersection of these synchronic lines. And so right here in this region is kind of celebrates those forces coming together, intersecting. So this space in here is used as this is where they have the rite of the oracle ceremonies every full moon, and so people come, they sit up there in the seats, and then there's a ceremony that invokes the oracle, and the oracle will give some message to the people. This past month it was basically to be unified and have respect for everybody, and so special ceremonies happen here in this space. You see all the mosaic work on the floor. It's very elaborate. If you come a little closer, you can see all these stone little spiral mosaics all the way around. So all the benches and all the pathways, everything is all this little stone mosaic. And this is all this artwork is all done by fellow, Damanhurian citizens, people without really much artistic experience at all, but just experimenting with it and putting their passion and energy behind their projects, and just amazing artwork is manifested. And right over here is actually where the office is for the newspaper. They have a daily newspaper, it's called Dui, and so that gets worked on right in there. Here's another one of their pillars. So, coming up the pathway, along the pathway there's different sacred language symbols here. This one actually means victory, and each one has different meanings. So all around there's different little pieces of sacred language, very ancient sacred language. This here is one of the, called the nucleos, one of the households. It has solar panels on the roof. Every Thursday night they have pizza cooked in the wood-fired oven, so I enjoyed that this week. And there's actually two nucleos. There's a nucleo there, and there's a nucleo over here too. So this building right here is actually for some of the teenagers. There's probably about 20 teenagers living in this house, from like 14 to 17 years old. And they have the option, if they want to live here, kind of away from their parents, then they can do that. They can kind of develop their independence. And the students did all the artwork on the building. This is another labyrinth down here. And then these are these pillars. This is where they do the solstice gatherings. Every solstice and equinox, they have big gatherings. I went to the winter solstice, December 21st, and then they had everybody all standing around in a circle, all the Damanhurian, wearing different robes, red robes, blue, yellow, white, depending on their ranking. And yeah, so there's a fire ceremony in there, and there's some sacred dance that happened. So yeah, so that's kind of reserved for sacred ceremony. All right. So now we are in this area here is known as the sacred woods. This area here is kind of the spirit area. So no one really goes in there. It's meant to be preserved the same way as it was when, naturally, without really any kind of change at all. This is another labyrinth right here, and going around, you can see, this building here painted all beautifully with all the plants. A dandelion over there, a big grasshopper, painted right on the building. But this building here, this is where every Friday night there's a sarata, there's a meeting with Falco, the spiritual guide, and you can come and ask him questions and things in there. So this is another one of the nucleos. So this is another family, 20 people or so living here.
Hi, so here we can see the flowers that are much higher than us, because so we have to think that we are not the tallest in this world, and we have to respect the nature, the animals, and so.
So we are now in a building called Damanhur Community, and so this is kind of the social hub of Damanhur. And so we're in kind of the gallery, the historical museum gallery of Damanhur. And so we have these displays here, and each display portrays a different aspect, element of Damanhur. So one of the features here at Damanhur is called the game of life, right? And so that's one of the principles, philosophies of Damanhur, is to kind of play around with life through transformation. The transformation of a person, and so part of the choosing an animal name and a plant name is characteristic of this game of life, and doing different competitions, art at sculpture competitions and things like that. So that's a tradition here. The next is this the Renaissance. So in 2000, there was this push for to creativity and making things with your hands, right? Really working with one's hands. And so each Damanhurian is encouraged to use their hands to do creativity and to make ceramics or different kind of art projects. And coming along, this is the education is very important here at Damanhur. There's a home school which has been active since 1985, and so in the education they teach the children a lot about working with their hands, and they take the children on many field trips. They go to different places in the world. Music of the plants, that's a big part of Damanhur also. They've been doing a lot of experiments with attaching electrodes to plants and seeing they actually generate music, and the plants respond differently based on different people's energy and vibrations. So they have CDs here of the music of the plants. There is this thing called olio caldo, which means warm oil, and there's a movement to try to be completely self-sufficient. And so back in 1986, there was experiments of having people living off the grid, supporting themselves or maintaining themselves just using their own ingenuity, their own abilities of creating self-sufficient means of supporting themselves. Publications, every day there's actually a publication that comes out. We have a newsletter, but there's also many books written. There's a book called The Book of Synchronicity, which is written by Falco, which is a combination of the I Ching and working with synchronic forces. Selfica, this is this whole system of working with copper and for healing, and apparently it's used in ancient Egypt and even in Atlantis, and the Celts used it, so that's used a lot here for healing. So we are here at Damanhur, and this is the last day that I'm going to be here. I've been here for a month now, working every day, working on finishing the earth house. So this house is made out of earth bags, and it was started about a year ago, and so when I got here it was just the bags exposed. So I've been working on putting the cob mix over the bags and plastering and smoothing it out. So we'll go inside and take a look. So starting off, we have some little heart-shaped stones here in the entryway, and then over here we have a nice little love bench here for two. And then going inside, this little spiral sun over the doorway, and it's a couple little candle holder here. Then the inside. So we've finished plastering all the walls. And there's some shelves here, round windows. So we put the floor in this week, right? And then this is all set up here for a stove. So we'll be having a stove here, and maybe have a heated bench, maybe a rocket stove. And upstairs, you can see the upstairs.
Dawning in the sky. And you won't be the home of us.
So this is a nice loft area here. There's a skylight.
And you won't be the star.
So there's some ventilation holes up here also. So you can see the pipe here, the stovepipe goes out through the wall. And there's some sticks here set up for shelves here also. And there's some nice little round windows
You
here.
will be the light. You will be the light.
Okay, so now I'm going to show you what's growing on the roof of the dome. So there's a little ramp here. So up here on the roof, there's salad greens growing. There's arugula, and chard, and different kinds of greens. Very, very good. So I come up here and graze like a goat. And so this has a membrane, a plastic membrane underneath it, and then earth, and then the salad seeds over that. And so there's a nice hat to protect the building, and this building kind of looks like a mushroom. So if you look at the whole thing, it's kind of like a mushroom house, you know? So you have the base, and then it flares out and spreads out like a mushroom. So this is the Cobb house here at the Damanhur Community at Damanhur.
About this house, this is a wonderful house made by wonderful people, and everyone has made something special. First, Leonardo, who is an amazing woman, an engineer, started the project with Simon. They both came here in Damanhur from Atlanta. Then many people of the family they worked here with them. And at a certain point, Leonardo moved from Denver, and so we had to finish the house, but we were not skilled enough in Denver. So we were looking for people passionate to help us, and we found all them. So we had Tim from Netherlands, and now we have Miguel from Oasis. And he's doing a great job here, helping us so much. We are enchanted and astonished how fast and good it is. So thank you, Miguel, and thank you all that you are looking at this.
Okay, so we are now at an old temple at Magilla. And actually, you can see this view. This is the lookout. So this is the valley of Torino, and over there, there's mountains over there. Those are the Alps. Those are and right over there is France on the other side of those mountains. So that's actually one of the highest peaks of the Alps, right? And so just a beautiful, beautiful view. And so this is an old temple, very, very old, and it's been told to me that this is actually an old temple for Isis. This is all over this area. They have statues of the Black Madonna, the Isis, and so supposedly this is actually an old ancient Isis temple. And so you go inside. So you can see how it was done. It used to be a dome. It was like an arch, right? So this is kind of a Nubian vault. So these old bricks just set like this, and so it was an arch like this, and and it just has a lime plaster over the bricks, very thick plaster. So and this, what I'm standing on here, I probably shouldn't be standing on it, but it's this is the old altar. This is the old shrine. So there probably used to be a statue here of Isis. There's still, yeah, there's a stone here. So, all right.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're a little bit closer now to the Ewok village. So we'll go. So this structure right up here. So this is a 3-story treehouse. The captain of the Nucleo, she lives down at the first level, and then someone else lives there. And then on the 3rd floor, that is known as kind of a pyramid, and that is specially designed to help stimulate dreams. So people stay up there to connect with the dream world. And so kind of a very beautiful space up there. And again, we're on top of the temple. So the temple of humankind is below us right now. And so there's particularly strong energy here in this space right here. So check it. There's this little house here. One of the men stay in this small little shed here. It's all using just local wood, local branches from the trees.
There's a medicinal plant garden, and so they use it all summer to dry all the herbs that they harvested, and very quickly, almost 1 or 2 days maximum, becomes perfectly dry. But if you're doing things like fruit, figs, or if you want to dry bananas, or if you want to dry any kind of fruit that you have in excess on your territory and you want to store and be safe for the winter, then it's perfect. And it can take 2 or 3 days. It's hard to say because it's not a controlled heat. If you have an electric dehydrator, the advantage is it's constant and equal heat. This depends very much on the sun, so you have to always be there on the watch.
Okay. So, hi Betsy. Could you share with us a little bit about what you are doing here at Damanhur, what the project that you're working on?
Well, first of all, my name is Betsy Poole, and my family and I were the first Americans to actually move and live here full time. So I came from this world of theater and film and had in fact retired before I came here. And when I moved to Damanhur, what I found was the most extraordinary Pandora's box of story of any place I'd ever been in the world, after having worked all over the world. And our approach to Damanhur was very slow and deliberate. We moved here 4 years ago. We lived in an apartment adjacent to the community, although we were, as a family, fully committed to the community. So we were, Damanhur is also an initiatic school. We were initiates. We were fully involved in the social, with the exception of living in community. In the process of this, looking at all of the story that existed here and touching what, from my perspective, is one of the most extraordinary places on the planet. Damanhur is an alternative culture. This is a society that was created out of the shared dreams of a group of people who were so courageous as to be able to look at society and say, this is not working for us. We're not seeing reflected in the places and the lives that we're expected to live how we feel the world should be. And one by one, the group of founders came together, were inspired by Falco, who's the visionary who originally conceived this idea of creating this alternative society. And together this group of people created a new culture, a completely new culture, in the bosom of Italy, but really a new culture. And I think there was a moment that struck me about a month ago when I had gone to see a theater piece that was created and then presented in the Temples of Humankind, which is the extraordinary construction that Damanhurians over the past 40 years have by hand created. And it's often been called the eighth wonder of the world. It's really quite a remarkable structure. And so we had gone into the temple, we were all present for this theater piece. And in the midst of it, I had this sort of moment where I thought, I'm sitting here, I'm watching a theater piece that's been created to elaborate a mythology, a core mythology of a group of people who had formed their own society. So out of their core mythology, this piece has been created. All the costumes have been made. The masks that they were using were made. The music had been written by. The lyrics had been written by. The text had been written by. The story had been completely conceived from a reality that was alternative to anything else in the world. And it was being presented in this extraordinary temple that had also been built by this group of people. It was really from scratch a representation of a completely new culture. And that moment for me was really a pinnacle in terms of understanding how important it was to be able to tell this story to the world. Because of all the realities that exist on the planet, the idea that a small group of people shared a dream, and out of that dream they created a completely new society and culture that functions at a level of both social, cultural, spiritual, economic, all these aspects combined functions at such an extraordinarily high level. And the level of humanity that exists between this group of people, I've not touched anything that comes close to it in the world. And so my realized mission here is that it's time to share this story in the world in a way that this can become a model and something that as humans in general, we know is possible and that working together is achievable.
Hello, Formica. Hello.
Hello, Miguel.
So can you share with us some about what it is that you do here at Damanhur?
At Damanhur, I've done a lot of stuff because different roles and function because I've lived here for 30 years. So the last 5 years I'm working in the PR department because we have a lot of people who comes in Damanhur and that is interested to know more about us. Many researchers, sociologists, anthropologists and also journalists. So we are committed to give them all the information about us. For 6 years and a half, I have been elected by the whole citizen of Damanhur as what we call Queen Guide. Queen and King Guide is a very weird way to say, to define a rule that is a very important rule in Damanhur. The people who is elected every 6 months in charge of this rule, they have to take care of the overall project of Damanhur. Damanhur today is a federation of more than 25 communities, and so in more than 38 years of story, we have developed a quite complex system, both from the social aspect to the economic aspect, and everything is quite in synergy in Damanhur. So the King Guides and the Queen Guides, they take care of the overall project and all the relationship between people, communities, different projects, with a vision that must be take care of the ideal. Because Damanhur mainly is a spiritual community, but we are very pragmatic people. So we have a way to meditate that we say it's called meditation, but in Italian we translate it in action. So we work a lot because we want to bring the spiritual in the practical life.
Hi. So yeah, we have actually the first example of moving house that is following the sun. So here there is a mechanical system under the house which rotates, and the rotation is made following the sun. So the facade where all the windows are now, we cannot see it, are facing the sun. The sun is over there, so the facade is facing there, and all through the day the house looks to the sun, and in the night it goes back to where the sun will raise up, ready for the next day, for another day of sun.
So we're at a place here in Damanhur. This is known as the International Village, and so these here are old ruins, old houses that have the potential for being fixed up. So we'll come in here and just see. They're all covered with ivy. But I could imagine a few people, maybe 5, 6 people, living in here. Someone downstairs, someone up here, maybe a certain dome. Out here, maybe a dome over here, another dome over here. This beautiful garden. How lush this garden is. So nice. Another living space here. A nice cob oven. We can have the oven right here. Outdoor kitchen. Wow. Beautiful garden. And over here there's some kind of little hut. It looks like it might have been used as a wine cellar. Something. Little dome here. Yeah, I think this could be a sweat lodge. This could be a sweat lodge. You could have, this would be perfect for a sweat lodge. Oh my gosh. So if we had a fire out here and put hot rocks on the fire and then take those hot rocks and put them inside here, then it could be a perfect place for a sweat lodge. Wow. That's pretty exciting. Yeah, no, this is really, really beautiful property. Very magical. Amazingly delicious water. Wow, it is so good. It's just like so fresh. This is very healthy living out here. Wow. Alright, well. Very nice. There's a house way up there too, up in the hill. You can see the Italian flag. All right, that's good.
Una sacerdotessa di Iside e hanno questo congregazione di sacerdotesse di Iside e lui è anche un prete di Iside e quindi la dea è molto presente e loro onorano la dea nella forma di Iside.
Ma loro
Sono questa piccola congregazione,
10 persone?
si incontrano sì alla domenica fanno un piccolo servizio.
E ciascuno vive dove nella sua casa,
nella
e
sua
poi
casa e fanno piccoli ritrovi, piccole cose, però servizi a Iside, però tutto molto, molto bello, molto rilassante. Ma
Okay, so I present to you
Vi presento
these persimmon cookies
questi
Made-
biscotti al cachi
made with persimmons
fatti col caco,
and walnuts
noci
from the Isis Oasis Sanctuary
che vengono da dove
in
sono io,
California,
il
where I
santuario di Iside in
We
California.
have a persimmon tree that is enormous
Abbiamo un enorme
and is
albero di
filled
cachi
with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds
riempito
of
di
persimmons
centinaia e centinaia di
that are
cachi.
so good. With these,
Okay, yeah, we can see one of the first solar installation, I imagine, of this community, because those solar panels are very, very old. From my experience, they could have 20, 25 years old. So if you think now to the solar technology, which will be the revolution of the next years and the next century, this is what pioneers have done in the past.
so this is our test brick right here, and so I just got some earth. There just happened to be some straw, laying around. So we kind of mixed that in with the earth. And so this is our first brick. This might actually be the very first adobe brick ever made here at Damanhur. And so this is earth we got right, from on top of the sacred temple. So it's fully charged. This is another little test ball. And so basically this is what we put into the oven to see, how well it dries and if it hardens. So, yeah.